these two worlds, and you're seeing a battle between them as well. So at this point, we need to come back and say, how big a trend is this? I think we have two, I think we have two webs, really. We have the commercial content web, which at least in the United States seems to be closing. This is the premium commercial content. My magazine, for example, we're taking more of it off the web and putting it onto the iPad app. The rich mobile media, those apps that I've talked about, increasingly going towards the freemium, somewhat closed model. The living room of the streaming video and the multiplayer gaming, increasingly going to the closed model. And then these emerging platforms like Facebook. The power of a platform is if there are barriers to entry, is if other people can't have access to everything you have access to. The battle over platforms, Facebook versus Google Social, iPhone versus Android, these are battles over access to the underlying data and people. If they were all 100% open, it wouldn't be a battle. Meanwhile, there's much of the web that is fine, that is absolutely thriving in all definitions in all markets. Obviously, the web as a way for people to get together. Community is thriving. As a communications social tool, it's thriving. As an e-commerce platform, of course the web continues to grow. For the long-tail content, for the niche material that benefits from the greatest reach, of course it's doing very well. And then, as I say, Europe may be taking a different course based on, the lack of streaming video dominance that you see in the United States in things like Netflix. So as I say, the web is absolutely alive in many, many ways. What I'm concerned about is this specific market that we're seeing in professional content, in platforms, and on mobile, where many of the fundamental principles have been challenged. So I just wanted to remind you that my article had a longer headline than "The Web is Dead." The headline was, "The Web is Dead, Long Live the Internet." And I'm very pleased that the name of this organization is the Internet Advertising Bureau, rather than the Web Advertising Bureau, so I'm sure that you will play well, regardless of which way it goes. But that's the point. The point is simply that the underlying notion of distributing data via the internet to all sorts of devices, in your pocket, on your desktop, in your living room, is alive and well. The revolution that was begun 30 years ago about end-to-end networks that allowed anyone to have access and it would grow geographically and in bandwidth is alive and well. But the applications that run on it is an open question, and whether they will be open or closed in the future is something that we are deciding collectively as a marketplace. And right now the trends are going in the wrong direction. I wanted to talk a little bit about this new platform because I think this is the next battlefield for this. We think tablets are the next great computing platform, and I just wanted to say why. The first is that the iPhone taught us that people want rich applications on their phones, in their pocket. That as the device gets smaller and the bandwidth gets higher, they want everything they have on the desktop, but they don't want it typically in the browser. They want it in an optimized form. The rise of the Kindle told us, at least in the media industry, that people will read on screens. And the rise of the cloud tells us that everything doesn't have to be done on the device. That more and more of your data and the processing can live in Google servers, on Amazon servers, on Microsoft servers. It can live out there on the cloud, and these things can be light and small and have long battery life. And all the failures of the tablet to date, the tablet PC, all the way back to the Dynabook, all those failures were due to the one machine having to do it all. But as broadband networks get better, and faster, and more ubiquitous, this machine doesn't have to do it all. This machine is simply a portal to the cloud, and the cloud carries more of the weight. will be many of these. Right now we have the iPad. Soon there will be Android tablets, there will be Windows tablets, there will be RIM tablets. We're about to see, over the next year, I expect we'll see 50 million of these things. They're being used for, many functions. They are being used as web browsers. They're fantastic web browsers. But unlike the desktop, we're also seeing them being strongly used for these other functions. The great gaming platforms, the apps that I've been talking about, including things like the Kindle app, by which you read on this device, are growing very strongly. This is a monotasking device. It doesn't multitask. It encourages single program to run, and this immersive effect. That is the way people are choosing to use it. We'll see how long that lasts. It's being used for rich media, like magazines, and as a screen to compete with television. And the reason this is so successful is it touches on some very fundamental human qualities. The difference between hunching over a keyboard and leaning back with an iPad. The difference between the finger, the tactile input versus the keyboard and mouse. The difference between multitasking and monotasking. What we see is the difference shows up in the time people spend. People treat this as an intimate personal device and will spend an hour in a single app. On the web, it's 3 minutes. We're finding that this, as I say, is increasingly something people will pay for, a freemium platform as opposed to the web, which is almost entirely free. And so the simple act of leaning back, of touching, of focusing, of having a software beautifully designed for exactly this interface is causing people to rethink how they experience computing. And it's causing them to treat this the way they treat the things they care most about. Books, and magazines, things they will curl up with. They will take this to bed in a way they won't take a laptop to bed. So as we say, this is starting to reset consumer behavior. And it is creating a new form of interaction with digital content that has new economic models, including the possibility of subscriptions. So when we got started thinking about this about 18 months ago, there was no tablet on the market, and so we had to invent some computer graphic example of what it might be. And then eventually it did come on the market, and we released our first magazine. And now I'm going to run a video that shows you what a magazine looks like on a tablet, and why we think this may be the future of media. I hope this video works.
All right.
Beginning. We have much more to do before we will know whether this really is the future of media. But we were making 3 bets. The first bet was that this was in fact the third great computing platform and would sell in tens or hundreds of millions. And so far the numbers look good. And this will probably do about 10 million by the end of the year, by the end of the holiday season. Next year I would not be surprised by in 18 months to see 50 million tablets out there. That's big enough to be a market, and it's now a global one as well. The second is that we were betting that people would read, would spend time on this platform. And these numbers are very encouraging. If these numbers hold up, this is the most important slide in the media world. This is the minutes of time spent on one of our Condé Nast titles. I won't say which one, and I've slightly averaged some of the numbers, but they're broadly right. That in print, people give us about an hour. On the web, they give us about 3 minutes. On the iPhone, at least in the early days, they were giving us 45, 50 minutes. It was really quite amazing. Early days, but amazing. And on the iPad, they were giving us like an hour and 30 minutes. It's just, like they were giving us even more time than in print. Now, I don't think those numbers are going to last. I think the iPad numbers will come down, the iPhone numbers will come down, but it looks like they're going to be much higher than the web. It looks like it's going to be closer to print. And if we can get an hour of a customer's time every month, we've won. Where time goes, money will follow. If they're giving us that amount of their attention in a world of so much competition, then paying is not the problem. Attention is the problem. If you get an hour of their time, a couple dollars, a couple euros is not a big deal. The third bet is that they would pay for it, and so far that seems to be working as well. These are the sales of our app on the iTunes store. The first month was more than 100,000, and we've been averaging between 20 and 30,000 ever since. Now this is despite many, many problems with the app experience for media. We're currently #1 magazine app, but we have so many things we need to do. The price is too expensive, $4 per issue. We have no subscription offer because we haven't, Apple has not yet enabled subscriptions. So there's no way to get a discount for subscribing more. There's no way to give subscribers to print access to the digital edition, so they have to pay twice. You have bugs in our software. The file size is too big. It's more than 400 megabytes due to immature technology. And people always want more innovation. Now you might ask, why do we do this at all? Everything I showed you in that video could be done on the web in some form. You can have animations on the web. You can have video on the web. You can have interactivity on the web. But we've been trying to do this for 20 years, and nobody has succeeded. There's only really 2 ways to work on the web. You can either build a custom Flash application, which requires everyone to learn a new interface, and Google can't see it. Or you use HTML, in which case you lose your design, you lose your context, and it's all decided by the browser. So we've chosen HTML for these many years, and we've done a great job. We love our web team, the websites are very successful, but it is no way, shape, or form a magazine. We've lost context, we've lost packaging, we've lost design, we've lost integration. It doesn't work as a whole, it works as parts. The content is atomized and loses much in translation. So the reason we use the apps is that we can do what we do best, which is combine content, package content in ways that adds value. I think this is why people are being driven to the Apple platform, Apple platforms, is that the packaging and design matters. Ease of use matters. It's comfortable. It's warm. It's welcoming. It's beautiful. Now this is what the marketplace is choosing. There is a question though. Can we do this on the web? Can we find a way? We have many questions, but I think I would take you down to the last one. HTML5. Is HTML5, which allows greater interactivity, greater context and design, is that the solution to the web is dead problem? Can we take all the beauty of these apps and bring them back onto the web in a way that really is open, but still has this ease of use, this curation, this packaging that allows us to tell stories